My daughter wrote, "Don't you dare come to my wedding. My husband is against you. You're a stranger to us." I silently counted all the checks. The next morning, she was standing on my doorstep. "I'm glad you're here with me. Please like this video, and listen to my story till the end, and let me know which city you're listening from. That way, I can see how far my story has traveled." I had spent years building a life I thought was unshakable. My daughter Emma was my whole world. The girl I'd raised alone after her father walked out when she was 3. I worked double shifts at the hospital, saved every penny, put her through college. She graduated with honors in marketing, landed a good job in Boston, and I was so proud I could burst. Life was good. Simple maybe, but good. I had my small house in Connecticut, my garden, my book club on Thursdays. Emma called every Sunday. We'd talk for an hour, sometimes 2. She'd tell me about her work, her friends, her life. I'd listen, offer advice when she asked for it, send care packages. That was our rhythm, that was our normal. Then, 6 months ago, she mentioned Jake. At first it seemed innocent enough, a co-worker. They'd gotten coffee a few times. He was nice, she said. Ambitious. I smiled through the phone, happy she'd found someone, but something in her voice had changed. A guardedness I'd never heard before. When I asked to meet him, she hesitated. "Maybe later, Mom. We're taking things slow." Slow turned into fast. Within 2 months, they were living together. Within 4, engaged. I still hadn't met Jake. Every time I suggested visiting, Emma had an excuse. Work was busy. Jake was traveling. The apartment was being renovated. I told myself not to worry. Young couples needed space. I didn't want to be that mother, the clingy one, the controlling one. But the excuses kept coming. When she finally sent me a photo of them together, I stared at it for a long time. Jake was handsome in that polished corporate way. Slicked back hair, expensive suit, smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. He had his arm around Emma, but she looked smaller, somehow dimmer. I pushed the thought away. I was being paranoid. She was happy. That's what mattered. The wedding was planned for June. A destination ceremony in the Bahamas. Intimate, Emma said. Just close family and friends. I booked my flight immediately, started shopping for a mother of the bride dress. I even offered to help with costs, the venue, the flowers, whatever they needed. Emma accepted. Of course she did. I was her mother. I transferred the first payment in March, for the resort deposit. In April, another for catering. In May, for photography and flowers. Emma thanked me each time, but her messages were brief, perfunctory. I told myself she was just stressed. Wedding planning was overwhelming. She'd be herself again once it was over. Then came the message. It was a Tuesday evening. I was in my garden deadheading roses, when my phone buzzed. A text from Emma. My heart lifted. She'd been so distant lately. Maybe she was finally ready to talk. Really talk. I opened it. "Don't you dare come to my wedding. Jake is against you. You're a stranger to us." I read it 3 times. 4. The words didn't change. My hand started shaking. The phone nearly slipped from my grip. "Don't come to the wedding, stranger." What was she talking about? I'd given her everything. I'd raised her alone, sacrificed my own dreams, so she could have hers, and now I was a stranger. I called her immediately, straight to voicemail. I tried again and again. Nothing. I texted back, "Emma, what's wrong? Please call me. Let's talk about this." No response. I sat down on my garden bench, the roses forgotten, and tried to understand. Had I done something wrong, said something offensive? I replayed our last conversation, a brief chat about her dress fitting. It had been pleasant, normal. There had been no argument, no tension. Unless this wasn't about me at all. Jake, it had to be Jake. From the moment she met him, everything had changed. The distance, the excuses, the coldness. He'd poisoned her against me, turned my own daughter into someone I didn't recognize. My shock began to curdle into something else, something harder. I opened my banking app with trembling fingers. There they were. All 3 transactions. Money I'd saved for years. Money meant to celebrate her happiness. money she'd accepted while planning to humiliate me. I didn't hesitate. One by one, I canceled the checks. Each click felt like a small act of justice. If I was a stranger, then strangers didn't fund weddings. Strangers didn't sacrifice everything for ungrateful children. I set my phone down and waited. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? I lay in bed staring at the ceiling as years of memories played on a loop in my mind. Emma's first steps, her first day of school, the time she broke her arm falling off her bike, and I held her in the emergency room, promising everything would be okay. Her high school graduation, her college acceptance letter, had it all been for nothing? By a.m., I'd moved to the kitchen table with a notepad and pen. I needed to see it all written down. Needed to understand the full scope of what I'd lost. Not just the money, though. That was devastating enough. Represented 2 years of extra shifts, skipped vacations, a delayed retirement. I'd planned to visit Europe next year. That dream was gone now, but the money was nothing compared to the rest. I made a list. Wedding payments, Emma's college tuition, I covered half. Her car, a graduation gift, first apartment deposits and furniture. The medical insurance until she got her job. Countless birthday gifts, Christmas presents, care packages, impossible to calculate. Total monetary investment, overtime investment, immeasurable emotional investment. My entire heart. And what did I get in return? A text message telling me I was a stranger, that I wasn't welcome at my own daughter's wedding. The unfairness of it made my chest ache. I'd done everything right. I'd been a good mother, not perfect but loving, supportive, present. I'd never missed a recital, a game, a parent-teacher conference. Even when I was exhausted, even when money was impossibly tight, I'd shown up. And this was my reward. Around a.m., something shifted inside me. The grief began to harden into resolve. I wasn't going to sit here drowning in self-pity. I wasn't going to let Emma and Jake treat me like garbage and walk away unscathed. They'd made a choice. Now they'd live with the consequences. I needed a plan. First, document everything. I took screenshots of Emma's message, of our previous text conversations, showing her warmth before Jake appeared, of all the wedding payment confirmations. I created a folder on my computer labeled evidence. Whatever happened next, I'd have proof. Second, protect myself financially. I'd already checked, but what else was vulnerable? I reviewed my will. Emma was listed as my sole beneficiary, set to inherit my house, my savings, everything. That needed to change. I made a note to call my lawyer first thing Monday morning. Third, understand what I was dealing with. Jake was the problem. I was sure of it. But who was he really? What kind of man convinced a woman to abandon her mother? I opened my laptop and started searching. Jake Morrison, Boston Marketing. Emma had mentioned his last name once. I found his LinkedIn profile impressive on the surface. Harvard MBA corporate strategist currently working at some consulting firm with a sleek website. But as I dug deeper scrolling through his connections and posts, something felt off. Every photo showed him expensive clothes, luxury restaurants, exotic vacations. For someone in their late s, he lived very well, too well. Was he wealthy? Or was he in debt, living beyond his means? And if it was the latter, was that why he'd encouraged Emma to cut me off, to isolate her from anyone who might question his lifestyle or influence? The thought made me cold. I was still researching when the sun came up. Golden light streamed through my kitchen windows, illuminating my notepad covered in notes, questions, theories. I felt exhausted, but oddly clear-headed. For the first time in hours, I knew exactly what I was doing. Then I heard a car door slam. I looked up. Through the window, I could see someone walking up my front path. My heart lurched. Emma. She looked terrible. Puffy eyes, wrinkled clothes, no makeup, like she'd been crying all night. She reached my front door and knocked. 3 sharp raps. I didn't move immediately. Part of me wanted to throw the door open, pull her into my arms, tell her everything would be okay. That was the mother in me, the woman who'd soothed her nightmares and kissed her scraped knees. But another part, the part that had emerged in the dark hours of the morning, stayed very still. What was she doing here? Had she come to apologize, to explain, or was this something else entirely? I stood up slowly, walked to the door, and opened it. Emma's face was a mess of tears and mascara. "Mom," she choked out. "What did you do? I didn't invite her in." I stood in the doorway, arms crossed, and waited for her to continue. "You count the checks," Emma said, her voice rising with each word. "The venue called Jake this morning. They said the deposit bounced. The caterer, the photographer. Everyone's on us. The wedding is in weeks, Mom." Weeks. So, that was it. She hadn't come to apologize. She'd come because the money disappeared. "You told me not to come to your wedding," I said quietly. "You called me a stranger." "Strangers don't pay for weddings, Emma." "I didn't mean it like that." She wiped her eyes roughly. "I was upset. Jake and I had a fight. And Jake told you to send that message, didn't he?" She hesitated just for a second, but that second told me everything. "No, I mean he has concerns about you. About your influence on our marriage." "My influence?" I almost laughed. "I haven't even met him, Emma. How could I possibly influence anything?" "That's not—" She stopped, frustrated. "Look, this isn't about Jake. This is about you trying to control me with money. You always do this. Whenever I don't do exactly what you want, you threaten to cut me off." The accusation hit like a slap. "Name one time, one single time I've ever done that." She opened her mouth, closed it, looked away. "You can't, because it never happened. I've given you everything, Emma. Everything. And I never asked for anything in return except basic respect and honesty. But apparently that's too much." "You're being dramatic." "Am I?" I pulled out my phone, opened the screenshot of her message and held it up. Read this out loud. "Tell me I'm being dramatic." Emma glanced at the screen and flinched. I was angry. "Read it, Mom. Please read it." Her jaw tightened. "Don't you dare come to my wedding. Jake is against you. You're a stranger to us." Her voice was barely a whisper by the end. "Do angry people mean what they say, Emma? Or do they just reveal what they've been thinking all along?" Tears spilled down her cheeks. "That's not fair." "What's not fair is raising you alone for years and being treated like an inconvenience." I kept my voice level, cold even. I couldn't afford to break down. "Not now. What's not fair is paying dollar for a wedding. I'm not invited to. You are invited. I want you there. Jake wants you there too. He just what?" She bit her lip. "He thinks you might make things difficult, say something inappropriate, embarrass us in front of his family." There it was, the truth, finally. "I've never embarrassed you in my life," I said, "but I'm a divorced nurse from Connecticut. And Jake's family is what? Boston old money, Harvard connections. Am I not polished enough for them? Not wealthy enough? It's not about that." "Then what is it about? Explain it to me, because I genuinely don't understand how you went from loving your mother to calling her a stranger in months." Emma's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and I saw the name on the screen. Jake. Her whole body tensed. "You need to answer that?" I asked. "No, yes." She looked torn. The phone kept buzzing. Finally she answered. "Hey, I'm at my mom's. I'm handling it." I couldn't hear his response, but I watched Emma's face. The way her expression shifted from sadness to fear to submission. She was nodding, saying, "I know, and I understand, and I'll try." When she hung up, she looked at me with something like desperation. "Mom, please just reinstate the checks. We can talk about everything else after the wedding. I promise we'll fix this. But right now I need money. I need my wedding to happen. Do you know how humiliating this is? We already sent invitations. Jake's parents are flying in from London. I can't tell them it's canceled because my mother threw a tantrum." "A tantrum?" That's what she thought this was. "Let me ask you something," I said. "If I give you the money, will I be welcome at the wedding?" She hesitated again. "That damned hesitation. I'll talk to Jake." "That's not an answer. He's my fiancé. I can't just ignore his feelings. But you can ignore mine." Emma's face crumpled. "Why are you doing this? Why are you ruining my life?" I felt something inside me snap. Not in anger, but in clarity. This wasn't my daughter anymore. This was a stranger wearing my daughter's face, speaking someone else's words, living someone else's priorities. "I'm not ruining your life, Emma. I'm just not funding it anymore. There's a difference, so that's it. You're just done with me." "No, I said you were done with me. I'm just accepting it." I stepped back and closed the door. Through the wood, I heard her sob, "Mom, Mom, please." She knocked, pounded. Really, I'm sorry, please don't do this. I walked away back to the kitchen, back to my notepad and my plan. My phone rang minutes later. Emma, I didn't answer. She called 4 more times. Then the text started. Please pick up. I love you. We can't fix this. Jake didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. Please. I turned my phone on silent and made myself a cup of tea. My hands were shaking, but my mind was calm. Monday morning I'd call my lawyer. I'd change my will, set up a trust for any future grandchildren, and make sure Emma got nothing until she proved she could stand on her own 2 feet away from Jake. This was my point of no return, and I was ready. Monday morning, I sat in Robert Chen's office at exactly a.m. Robert had been my lawyer for years, handled my divorce, my will, even a property dispute with a neighbor once. He was thorough, discreet, and completely unflappable until I told him why I was there. You want to disinherit your daughter? He set down his pen and looked at me over his reading glasses. Margaret, that's a significant decision. Are you absolutely certain? Completely certain. I showed him everything. The message from Emma, the wedding checks, the screenshots of our conversation. He read through it all carefully, his expression darkening. This is unfortunate, he said finally, but I have to ask, is this a heat-of-the-moment decision? Something you might regret? I've had 3 days to think about it. My answer hasn't changed, he nodded slowly. All right, here's what I recommend. We create a revocable living trust. Your assets go into the trust, and you maintain complete control during your lifetime. Upon your death, the trust bypasses probate and distributes according to your wishes, that's what we need to determine. You could leave everything to charity, set up a scholarship fund, create a trust for future grandchildren with conditions attached, or he paused. You could leave Emma a symbolic amount, for example, that proves you didn't forget her, which makes the will harder to contest. I considered this the trust for grandchildren. I like that. If Emma has children someday, they shouldn't suffer for her choices, but they get nothing until there, and Emma has no control over the money, smart, and the rest, split between the American Cancer Society and the scholarship fund at Emma's college. Ironic, isn't it? The education I paid for will help other people's children. Robert drafted the documents that afternoon. I signed them on Wednesday. Just like that, Emma went from inheriting everything to inheriting nothing. But I wasn't done. I'd been researching Jake Morrison for days straight. What I found made my blood run cold. He wasn't just ambitious, he was drowning. Credit card debt, a repossessed car 2 years ago, 3 previous addresses in 2 years. And most damning, he'd been engaged before, twice, both times to women from wealthy families. Both engagements ended abruptly when the women's families got involved. Jake wasn't marrying Emma because he loved her. He was marrying her because he thought she came with a trust fund. The realization made me sick. My daughter was being used. I was compiling evidence on Thursday afternoon when someone started pounding on my front door. Not knocking, pounding. I looked through the window and saw Jake's BMW in my driveway. Here we go, I thought. I opened the door to find both of them. Emma looking miserable, Jake looking furious. What the hell do you think you're doing? Jake didn't even bother with pleasantries. He pushed past me into my house. Excuse me, I blocked Emma from following. You don't get to come into my home uninvited. You're home. Jake spun around, his face red. The home Emma's supposed to inherit? I don't think so. We need to talk about your little stunt. Jake, please. Emma started, but he cut her off. No, your mother needs to understand something. He stepped closer to me, trying to use his height to intimidate. You're destroying your daughter's life out of spite. You're a bitter, controlling woman who can't stand to see Emma happy. I didn't move. Interesting theory. Here's another one. You're a con artist who saw an easy mark and isolated her from anyone who might expose you. His eyes widened just slightly, but enough. I've been doing research, Jake. Want to know what I found? 3 previous addresses, 2 broken engagements, and dead up to your eyeballs. You don't love Emma. You love the idea of what she could give you. That's insane, is it? Then explain why Emma never met your family until after you were engaged. Explain why you pushed for a destination wedding that would keep people away. Explain why my invitation got revoked the moment I started asking questions. Emma was staring at him now. Jake, what is she talking about? Nothing. She's making things up to turn you against me. Am I? I pulled out my phone, opened the folder of screenshots and documents. Here's your credit report, Jake. Public record. Here's an article about your first engagement. Cancelled weeks before the wedding. Sound familiar? I held the phone up. Emma looked. Her face went white. Those are Emma. Don't listen to her. I can explain. You said you'd never been engaged before. Emma whispered. You said I was your first serious relationship. Maybe that was different. Those women weren't what? Rich enough? Gullible enough? Jake's mask slipped. For just a moment I saw pure rage cross his face. Then he smoothed it over, reached for Emma's hand. Let's go. Your mother is toxic. This is exactly why I said she shouldn't come to the wedding, but Emma pulled her hand away. You said you wanted her there. You said you understood family was important. I lied to make you happy. Obviously I didn't want her there. Look at what she's doing to us. The truth, finally, direct from his mouth. Emma looked between us, tears streaming down her face. Then she turned and ran to the car. Jake jabbed a finger at me. This isn't over. You've turned her against me, but I'll fix it, and when I do, you'll be the one left with nothing. He stormed out. I watched through the window as he and Emma argued in the car. She was crying. He was gesturing angrily. Finally, the BMW roared out of my driveway. I closed the door and leaned against it, shaking. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I might be sick. That had been intense. More intense than I had expected. Jake was dangerous. Not physically maybe, but emotionally, psychologically. The way he tried to twist reality, gaslight both of us. I needed a break. I called my friend Patricia, told her I needed a few days away. She invited me to her cabin in the Burkers immediately. Come now, she said. Stay as long as you want. I packed a bag and left within the hour. For days, I didn't check my phone. I hiked, read books, sat by the lake. Let my nervous system recover from the confrontation. When I finally turned my phone back on, there were missed calls and text messages. The war, it seemed, was just beginning. The messages were a masterclass in manipulation. From Jake, Margaret, I apologize for my behavior. I was defensive and said things I didn't mean. Can we talk like adults? From Emma. Mom, I love you. Please give Jake another chance. He's under a lot of stress with the wedding. From Jake again. I understand your concerns. What if we postponed the wedding? Gave everyone time to get to know each other properly. From Emma. Jake wants to take you to Dare, just the three of us. Please say yes. Then more desperately. Mom, answer your phone. Where are you? I'm worried about you. Call me. I read through them. All at Patricia's cabin. Sipping coffee as morning light filtered through the pines. Patricia sat across from me, her sharp eyes missing nothing. They're scared, she observed. That's good. Or regrouping. Maybe both. She refilled my mug. What are you going to do? Nothing. Let them sweat, Patricia smiled. I taught you well. She had actually. Patricia had been my mentor when I first started nursing, a fierce woman who'd raised 3 kids alone while working her way up to head nurse. She didn't tolerate nonsense from anyone, and she'd taught me not to either. The question is, she continued, what do they want? If Jake knows you're on to him, why hasn't he just cut his losses and moved on? I'd been wondering the same thing. Emma must not believe me yet, or she's choosing not to. And as long as she's still with him, there's a chance he can salvage this. So, he needs to either win you over, or completely turn Emma against you.
Right.
And given how badly the confrontation went, I'd guess he's trying the first approach now. Hence the apologies. Patricia nodded thoughtfully. Be careful, Maggie. Men like that are dangerous when cornered. I drove home that afternoon, fortified by rest and Patricia's wisdom. My house felt different when I walked in, smaller somehow, but also more solidly mine. I'd lived here for years, raised Emma here. I wasn't going to be driven out by a con artist and his manipulation tactics. I sat down and composed a single message to Emma. I love you. I always will. But I won't have a relationship with Jake based on lies. When you're ready to hear the truth and have an honest conversation, I'm here. Until then, I need space. Her response came within minutes. We need to talk, please. Not yet. When? When you're ready to listen. Really listen. Hours later, a flower delivery arrived. 2 dozen roses, expensive ones. with a card from Jake and Emma. "We're sorry. Please give us a chance." I gave them to my neighbor. The next day, a gift basket appeared on my porch: gourmet chocolates, wine, cheeses. The card read, "Thinking of you. Love, Emma." I donated it to the church charity sale. On the third day, Jake himself showed up alone. This time, I watched through the window as he knocked politely, waited, then left an envelope tucked into my doorframe. Inside was a check for $1 and a handwritten note. "Margaret, I know we got off on the wrong foot. I love your daughter more than anything in this world, and I hate that I've come between you. Please accept this reimbursement for the wedding expenses. Consider it an investment in our fresh start. I'd like to take you to lunch this week, my treat, anywhere you'd like. Let me prove I'm worthy of Emma." Jake. I stared at that check for a long time. More than I'd paid. He was trying to buy me, make himself look generous, responsible, erase his debts with my daughter by creating a debt with me. It was clever. I'd give him that. I tore the check in half, then in quarters, then into tiny pieces. I put them in an envelope and mailed them back to Jake's apartment with a note of my own: "I can't be bought." Margaret, that weekend I went to my book club for the first time in 3 weeks. The women there had been my friends for years: Sarah, Linda, Joan, Patricia. They all knew something was wrong. I'd been distant, distracted, canceling meetings. I told them everything. When I finished, Sarah reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "You're doing the right thing." Am I? I keep wondering if I'm being too harsh. If I should just let it go. Be at the wedding, try to build a relationship with Jake for Emma's sake. "Absolutely not," Linda said firmly. She'd been through a nasty divorce. She recognized manipulation when she saw it. "That man is using your daughter. If you back down now, you're validating his tactics." "But what if I lose Emma completely?" Joan, the oldest of us, had spoke up quietly. "Then you lose her, but you don't lose yourself. Don't compromise your integrity for someone who's already decided you're disposable." Her words hit hard, but they also rang true. Patricia poured me more wine. "Besides, you haven't lost her yet. She's still texting you, still trying. Part of her knows something's wrong. The question," Sarah added, "is whether she'll figure it out before the wedding or after. After is going to be worse." I said, "If she marries him, then you'll be there to pick up the pieces." But that's future Margaret's problem. Present Margaret needs to hold the line. I left that meeting feeling stronger than I had in days. These women had my back. They saw through Jake's charm and Emma's desperation. They reminded me I wasn't crazy, wasn't cruel, wasn't wrong. That night Emma called. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Mom." Her voice was small, scared. "I'm here. Did you get Jake's check?" "I did." I sent it back. Silence. "Then why?" "We were trying to make things right. Emma, you can't buy forgiveness. That's not how this works." "Then what do you want from me?" She was crying now. "I've apologized. Jake's apologized. We've sent gifts, reached out, tried everything. I want you to wake up." "What?" "I want you to see who he really is, what he's doing to you, to us. He loves me." "Does he, or does he love what you represent?" She hung up. I sat in the dark, phone in hand, and wondered if I'd ever get my daughter back. They came on a Sunday morning. I was in my garden, same as I'd been weeks ago when this all started, except now my roses were in full bloom, and I was a different woman. I heard the car before I saw it. Emma's Honda, not Jake's BMW. Strategic choice, I thought, less aggressive. They walked around to the back gate together, both dressed carefully. Emma in a sundress I'd bought her last Christmas. Jake in casual khakis and a button-down. They looked like a Hallmark card. Young couple, beautiful day. Coming to reconcile with Mom. "Margaret," Jake called out with a warm smile. "We hoped we'd find you here. Your roses are beautiful." I straightened up, pulling off my gardening gloves slowly. "Emma, Jake, can we talk?" Emma asked. She looked nervous. "Please, just for a few minutes." I could have said no. Should have maybe, but curiosity won out. "All right." We sat at my patio table, the one where Emma and I used to have breakfast on summer mornings when she was little. Jake positioned himself at the head of the table. "Interesting choice," I noted. "Claiming authority in my space, Margaret." "I want to start by saying I've done a lot of reflecting," Jake began, his voice earnest and measured. You were absolutely right to question my intentions. If I were in your position, I'd have done the same thing. I said nothing. Waited. I haven't been fully honest with Emma or with you. He reached for Emma's hand. She let him take it, but she looked uncomfortable. I have had financial troubles in the past, and yes, I've been engaged before. But those situations were complicated. Complicated. How? The women I was involved with, their families were controlling. They tried to run our relationships, dictate every decision. When I pushed back, things fell apart. He looked directly at me. I see now that I was projecting those experiences onto you. I assumed you'd be the same way, overbearing, manipulative. I was protecting Emma from something that wasn't even real. It was a good performance. Vulnerable, self-aware, apologetic. If I didn't know better, I might have believed him. And the debt. I asked for my business. I tried to start a consulting firm right out of business school. It failed. I've been digging myself out ever since, but I'm almost there. Another year and I'll be clear. He squeezed Emma's hand. I should have told you from the beginning. I was ashamed. Emma was watching him with something like hope in her eyes. She wanted to believe this desperately. So, you're not marrying Emma for her money? I asked bluntly. Emma doesn't have money, Jake said. Confusion crossing his face. She works in marketing. We're both just normal people trying to build a life. Ah, there it was. You thought I had money, I said. You thought Emma would inherit? Jake's expression flickered just for a second. I know, that never crossed my mind. Really? Because you seemed very interested in my house, in what Emma was supposed to inherit. I was upset. I said things I didn't mean, like Emma said things she didn't mean when she called me a stranger. Emma flinched. Mom, let me guess what happens next. I interrupted. Jake apologizes beautifully. You two promised to include me in the wedding. We all hug and cry and everything goes back to normal. Except the wedding's in weeks and you still need money. So, at some point in this conversation you're gonna ask me to reinstate those checks. Emma's face went red. That's not what this is about, isn't it? We're trying to fix our relationship. Her voice cracked. Why can't you see that? Why do you have to make everything about money? Because money is what brought you here, not love, not family, money. Jake's smile finally disappeared. You know what, Margaret? Emma was right about you. You are controlling. Use your money as a weapon. I use my money how I choose. That's called autonomy. It's called being a narcissist. He stood up, his facade crumbling. Emma has bent over backward trying to appease you. She's apologized, compromised, begged, and you sit there like some queen expecting everyone to bow down. Jake, stop. Emma started. No, she needs to hear this. He turned back to me, and now I could see the real Jake, the one hiding behind the charm. You're a bitter, lonely woman who can't stand that your daughter found happiness without you. You've built your entire identity around being her mother, and now that she doesn't need you anymore, you're trying to destroy her life. I stood up slowly. Get out of my house. Gladly. This place is depressing anyway. No wonder Emma couldn't wait to leave. Emma was crying now. Jake, please stop. Mom, please. Emma, make a choice, I said quietly. Him or me? Right now. Her eyes widened. That's not fair. Life isn't fair. Choose. She looked between us, tears streaming down her face. Then she stood up and walked to Jake's side. Of course she did. I love you, Mom, she whispered. But you're impossible. You've always been impossible. Nothing is ever good enough for you. That's not true. Yes, it is. When I got into college, you said I should have aimed higher. When I got my job, you said I was settling. When I met Jake, you immediately started criticizing him before you even knew him. You can't just be happy for me. The accusations stung because they held a grain of truth, twisted and exaggerated. But there I had worried she was settling. I had wanted her to aim high. But I'd never criticized out of cruelty, only concern. I wanted you to have the best life possible, I said. No, you wanted me to live the life you think is best. There's a difference. Jake put his arm around her shoulders. Come on, baby. Your mom's made her decision. We need to make ours. They walked toward the gate. Then Jake turned back, and his smile was pure poison. By the way, Margaret, the wedding's still happening. We found another way to pay for it. Turns out my family's more supportive than yours ever was. Emma and I are going to be very happy together, and when we have children, they'll never know their grandmother was too selfish to be part of their lives. The threat hung in the air. Grandchildren, the future, everything I'd never have if I didn't back down. I watched them leave. Watched Emma get into the car without looking back. Watched them drive away. Then I went inside, locked all the doors, and stood in my kitchen shaking. Fear crawled up my spine. Real fear. What if I was wrong? What if I was destroying my relationship with Emma over pride? What if I never met my grandchildren? But then I remembered Jake's face when his mask slipped. The cruelty, the calculation, and I knew I wasn't wrong. Emma was making a terrible mistake, but I couldn't save her from it. She had to save herself. All I could do was be here when she finally woke up. I sat down at my kitchen table, pulled out my phone, and texted Patricia. They came. It got ugly. I held firm. Her response came immediately. Proud of you. You're stronger than you think. I stared at those words until my hand stopped shaking. Then I got up and went back to my roses. The wedding was supposed to happen on Saturday, June 5th, at some resort in the Bahamas. I knew because the invitation was still on my refrigerator. A beautiful cardstock mockery of everything that had fallen apart. I thought I'd spend that day trying not to think about it. Maybe work in the garden. Maybe visit Patricia. Anything to avoid imagining Emma in a white dress. Jake's ring on her finger. My absence, a gaping wound in the family photos. But Friday afternoon my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. Is this Margaret Reeves? Yes. Who's this? My name is Caroline Winters. You don't know me, but I think we need to talk. It's about Jake Morrison. My heart rate spiked. I'm listening. I saw your daughter's wedding announcement online. When I saw Jake's name, I almost threw up. He's marrying someone else again. Her voice was shaking. I was engaged to him years ago. He destroyed my life. I sat down slowly. Tell me everything. The story Caroline told was chillingly familiar. She'd met Jake at a charity fundraiser in Boston. He was charming, ambitious, swept her off her feet. They were engaged within months. Wedding planned for the Bahamas, intimate, beautiful, expensive. Then 2 weeks before the wedding, Caroline's father had a stroke. Suddenly, her inheritance was uncertain. Her father might need long-term care, which would deplete the family money. Jake became distant, critical, picked fights. Finally, he called off the wedding 3 days before they were supposed to leave, claiming Caroline was too emotionally unstable to be a good wife. She found out later he'd already started dating someone else, another woman from a wealthy family. It's a pattern. Caroline said, I've tracked down 2 other women. Same story every time. He finds someone with money or family wealth, gets engaged, then disappears when he realizes the payday isn't coming. Why are you calling me now? Because I've been watching your daughter's social media. I can see what he's doing. The isolation, the rushed timeline, and I saw that you're not in any of their recent photos. That means he's cutting you out. Same as he did with my family. He tried. We had a falling out. Good. That means Emma might still have a chance. She paused. I have proof. Emails, text messages, documentation of everything. I've been building a file in case he ever tried this again. Would you want to see it? Absolutely. She emailed it within the hour. Pages and pages of evidence, screenshots of Jake's messages to Caroline where he specifically mentioned targeting wealthy circles, financial records showing how he tried to access Caroline's trust fund, testimonies from the other ex-fiancés. It was damning, undeniable. What do you want to do with this? I asked when I called her back. I want to stop him. I don't know your daughter, but no one deserves what he did to me. If there's any chance of reaching her before the wedding's tomorrow in the Bahamas. I know. She hesitated. I was thinking of confronting him, but I can't do it alone. He'd just spin it as me being a crazy ex. An idea formed in my mind. A wild, possibly insane idea. What if we went together? I said silence. Then you do that for my daughter. Yes. We booked flights that night. Red eyes to Nassau arriving Saturday morning. It was reckless, expensive, probably futile. Emma might not listen. Jake might have us thrown out, but I had to try. We landed at a.m. The wedding was at p.m. Caroline rented a car and we drove to the resort, a pristine, expensive paradise that would have been beautiful under different circumstances. How do we even get in? Caroline asked as we sat in the parking lot. We walk in, we're guests. We're not on the list. They won't know that until they check. And by then we'll already be inside. It worked. The resort was huge. Multiple weddings happening. We slipped in with another group, found the ceremony location, a beach pavilion with white chairs and flower arrangements. Guests were already arriving. I recognized some of Emma's college friends, Jake's parents, older, wealthy-looking, exactly what I'd expected. And there, near the front, Emma in her suite, getting ready. My heart clenched. She looked beautiful and so young. When do we do this? Caroline whispered. During the ceremony, when they ask if anyone objects. That's dramatic. This whole thing is dramatic. We waited in the back as guests filed in. I saw Emma walk down the aisle on the arm of her college mentor. She'd asked him to give her away since her father was gone and I was not there. It should have been me. Jake waited at the altar, looking handsome and confident, playing his role perfectly. The officiant began. Standard ceremony language. Love, commitment, future. Then if anyone has any reason why these two should not be wed, speak now or forever. Hold your peace. I stood up. So did Caroline. Emma's face went white. Mom. Emma, don't marry him, I said, my voice carrying across the beach. He's done this before multiple times. He's a con artist. Jake's confidence faltered. This is insane. I'm Caroline Winters, Caroline called out. I was engaged to Jake years ago. He left me when my family's money became unavailable, just like he'll leave Emma. Gasps from the guests. Jake's parents looked shocked. Emma stood frozen. We have proof. I continued walking down the aisle. Caroline followed. Emails, financial records, testimonies from other women. He's been running this scam for years. Jake's mask finally shattered. You crazy, don't, I warned. Don't make this worse. Emma was crying. This can't be true, Jake. Tell him it's not true. He looked at her and for a moment I saw him calculate. Could he lie his way out, charm his way through? Then he ran. Just bolted. Off the pavilion, across the beach, gone. The silence that followed was deafening. Emma collapsed into a chair sobbing. I rushed to her, wrapped my arms around her. I'm sorry, she cried. I'm so sorry, Mom. You were right. You were right about everything. I know, baby. I know. Behind us, chaos erupted. Guests murmuring. Jake's parents demanding answers. Wedding staff confused. But I didn't care about any of that. I had my daughter back. Jake didn't get far. Resort security found him trying to check out an hour later. Caroline had already contacted the local police. She'd recognized a stolen credit card number Jake used for wedding expenses. Fraud was fraud even in the Bahamas. They detained him. His parents, mortified, immediately flew back to London. Apparently they'd had no idea about his past. He told them Emma was his first serious relationship. The wedding dissolved. Guests scattered. The resort refunded the deposits. Emma sat in her suite, still in her wedding dress, staring at nothing. Caroline and I stayed with her. I can't believe I almost married him, Emma whispered. I can't believe I chose him over you. He's very good at what he does, Caroline said gently. You're not stupid. You were manipulated by a professional. Emma turned to me, eyes swollen. I said terrible things to you. You were under his influence. I know that wasn't really you. Can you forgive me? I pulled her close. Already done. We stayed in Nassau 3 more days. Emma and I talked about everything. Her childhood, my divorce, our mistakes. We cried. We laughed. We started healing. When we got home, I took her to see Robert Chen. I need to update my will, I told him. I want Emma reinstated as my beneficiary. Full inheritance. Emma's head snapped toward me. Mom, no. After everything, you're my daughter. Nothing changes that. She started crying. I don't deserve. Love isn't about deserving, it's about choosing. And I choose you always. But we weren't done with Jake. Caroline had been building a legal case for years. Now, with Emma's testimony, she had enough for a serious lawsuit. The district attorney in Boston took the case. Jake was extradited, faced charges in 3 states. The investigation uncovered 5 more victims, 7 women total. He'd stolen over $1 across all his schemes. The trial happened 8 months later. Emma and Caroline both testified. They were powerful, articulate, unshakable. Jake's defense tried to paint them as vindictive exes. It didn't work. The jury convicted him on counts of fraud. The judge sentenced him to years in prison plus full restitution. As they led him away in handcuffs, he looked at Emma one last time. She stared back, face neutral, and said nothing. She didn't owe him words. She didn't owe him anything. Afterward, Emma and I went to dinner. We ordered wine, expensive steaks, dessert. "I can't believe it's over," she said. "How do you feel?" "Free." She smiled genuinely for the first time in months, like I can finally breathe. We raised our glasses. "To fresh starts," Emma said. "To truth," I added. "To family," we drank. The wine tasted like victory. Caroline called later that week. Jake's parents wanted to help with restitution. They're also setting up a foundation to help victims of romantic fraud. They asked if I wanted to be involved. "Are you going to do it?" "I think so. Turn this nightmare into something useful." I understood. I'd been thinking the same thing. That night I updated my will one final time. Everything went to Emma, but I added a scholarship fund for single mothers pursuing nursing degrees. Women like I'd been. Robert approved the documents. "This is a good legacy, Margaret. It's the right one." The war was over. We'd won. Not just won. We destroyed him the right way with truth, evidence, and the law. Emma was free. I was free. We'd survived. More than that, we prevailed. 2 years later, my life looked completely different. Emma moved back to Connecticut, bought a condo minutes away. We had dinner twice a week. She'd switched careers, now training to be a school counselor, helping teenage girls recognize manipulation. "I wish I'd had someone like this when I was younger," she told me. We'd grown closer than ever. Not dependent, equal partners who happened to be mother and daughter. My scholarship fund awarded its first recipients, 5 single mothers pursuing nursing degrees. I felt purpose settle in my chest. I started dating. David, a retired teacher, became a regular companion. Museums, concerts, Napa Valley. Emma approved. "You smile more, Mom." Life became peaceful, happy. Meanwhile, Jake's life imploded. Prison was rough. His charm didn't work there. Additional charges extended his sentence to years. His parents disowned him completely. His reputation was destroyed. No company would hire him. No woman would trust him. He tried writing a memoir. Every publisher rejected it. Caroline uncovered total victims, but now he was the ruined one. We were rebuilding. Emma started dating Marcus. Gentle, transparent, kind. She seemed like herself around him. "I'm happy, Mom." "Me too, baby. Finally." Looking back, I learned that love without boundaries isn't love. It's enabling. Protecting someone from consequences doesn't help them grow. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is stand firm, even when it breaks your heart. Emma learned that charm isn't character. That isolation is a red flag, not romance. If someone toxic starts pulling your loved one away, don't back down. Stand firm. Speak truth. What would you have done? Would you have given in or held the line? Leave a comment below. Subscribe if this resonated. Standing up for ourselves isn't selfish, it's survival. Thank you for listening.